All right. Hello, everyone on YouTube. Welcome. Give me a second, and we are going to go to our other spot. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me live. That is still a strong delay. Uh-oh. All right, so I got it for LinkedIn. Go ahead, go live. It's okay. I really still don't know how to check it over here on LinkedIn. We're going to assume that it is live. Oh, go live. It said that it is. All right. We're just gonna roll with it. Thank you all so much for your patience as I always set this up. All right. All right, everyone, welcome back to our series, Opulent Thinking for Opulent Opportunities. I am Dr. V, or Vernita, the Brilliant Solutionist, and we're going to jump right in. So we're going to start with, okay, yeah, moment. We're going to start with S&P 3. So if you're new, welcome. If you want to understand the foundational work, go to my YouTube channel, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, and go to the playlist Opulent Thinking for Opulent Opportunities series and the playlist, and then you'll see the foundational work. So I can just jump right in. So S&P 3, remember, I'm using this framework as a guiding process to help us make better decisions or think at a higher level so we can attract those higher level opportunities. A lot of us have been afforded opportunities to come our way, but I believe we have been complacent, and that starts when I looked at the mathematical framework, I said, I think this could apply to our everyday lives, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, or you're still a career professional, this still works for you. So we're going to talk about challenging the status quo. So I've been thinking for business and leadership decision making. Now, leadership, I said, this isn't just for the role of a leader or the title. You yourself are you have to lead yourself first. So everyone is a leader, but then of course we do have those people that are in certain positions and titles, but even if they are in those roles, they're not acting like leaders. But we're not talking about them. All right. So the S&P 3, because we already did 1 and 2. The third one is construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. In mathematics, you want to, if you, I used to work with, uh, I was an instructional coach, and I worked with principals and superintendents and things like that, going to different schools, looking at how math was operating in the classroom. And you always want to hear the students talking more than the teachers. And when you wanted to hear the students talk, you wanted to hear them talk about mathematics and see if they could literally critique how other students were thinking about a problem or making an argument as to why they saw the problem the same way. When I started working at the university level, that was the same thing. You want to get your students to do more talking. Even when I led workshops, I wanted the participants to be able to construct viable arguments and critique the reason of others, because that's where the learning happened. So I was more of a facilitator, and I see myself now that I do better as facilitation. There are times when I do teach, but facilitation, and it's always about the listening, but that's a whole different topic. So it's really to really help you to understand what this is. Bottom line, it is self-reflection and what you're doing with your decision making. Again, I've said this in our last video, and I'm going to say it in this video. And we can expect 5-year-olds or students in kindergarten, because that's where the standards start. If we can expect for them to construct Bible arguments and critique the reason of others, then we as adults, we definitely should be engaging in this exercise more often. So we're going to look at opulent thinking in 3 areas with a new perspective as it relates to how we're thinking and how we're making better decisions. Again, whether it's life, career, business, even though, when we say life and career, I mean, life, business, and career, that's all lumped into life, actually. But anyway, so 3 areas: one, self-awareness and constructive feedback. Now, you may have heard these things before, but if you're back drawn to, like, well, let me see what else she's talking about, or it may sound like it's the same information. If you're drawn to it, that means you're not doing something in this area. So just be open and just stay with me. So self-awareness and constructive feedback. Number 2, your ecosystem. And we'll take a deeper dive into what I mean by your ecosystem. And then leadership for effective communication and influence. You're like, okay, probably heard this before, but keep an open mind. So why do all of this matter? And if you see me looking down, I keep showing y'all this all the time. Have a whole lesson plan background of lesson plans. All right, so why does this matter? Well, I really want to talk to the people who have lost faith in their decision-making skills. And I'm not talking about the everyday decisions, what I'm gonna eat, what I'm gonna wear, what I'm gonna do this weekend or anything like that. I'm talking about major decisions whether it was a career move, a relationship move, a business move, just, something like that that can really shift you at your core. And so you made this decision, and now you probably are like hooked to it and you're feeling bad. You may have some regret. And I know we talk about sometimes, not having regrets, but there are times where you're like, man, that could have worked out a lot differently. So I want to help you to unhook from those, because it could have resulted in some type of traumatic experience. And you're like, you know what, you lost confidence in yourself. You just you on the outside, it looks like you're still doing a pretty good job, but you're at this level to where you're staying at where it's easy for you to make decisions. And regardless of whatever level that is, that you used to be able to make decisions fast, or you took certain risks, but there was something or a series of some things that you made these decisions, and you're like, man, it's just been a snowball effect, and you haven't quite gotten yourself out of that, or you're slower at making these decisions, and you're looking for so much external advice. Now that's good sometimes, but you are the first person that has to make the decision, so this is for you. And I know personally I've had a few of these. One recent one I talked about on my YouTube channel and on LinkedIn, is linked in my feature section, is about how I lost $397,291 in 30 days. Now go watch that video, and it explained a lot. But I realized that I can tell the difference between this this happened and I wasn't, as stuck, or, wrapped in my fetal position, or like shower stewing for a long period of time, versus there have been other situations that it has taken years for me to unhook from. So I've been able to monitor and track my progress, and I'm sharing some of these lessons with you. So I use this, and I can tell when I don't use it. So this is why I wanted to give you some tools to unhook, because we need your decision making. We need your skills. We need your voice. And if you're not, you can be at all the tables you want to be, but if you are not unhooking for something, then you're not going to step in at whatever platform that is, or whatever environment. You're not going to step in because you're not trusting yourself. And we need you to get back to trusting yourself. So self-awareness and constructive feedback. This is about personal growth, but I've said this before. I've shifted that to personal leadership, because that phrase resonated more with me when I first heard it. So your personal leadership, and then self-reflection. Now, this isn't just, oh, I'm going to just journal today and journal my thoughts and things like that. That could work. for some people. But if you're still finding yourself where you're not trusting your decision making, it is because you have to learn how to be uh, a critique of yourself. You have to critique your own reasoning. Now, this doesn't mean, you be so hard on yourself. Well, I'll get to that. This is not self-defecating, self-loathing, or throwing yourself a pity party. That's not it. You get 5 minutes to do that, to woe is me, because you do need to process and feel your emotions. So this is not about not feeling your emotions. If you want to cry, scream, yell, you have this anger, rage, you feel that, allow it to pass through your body. Some of us try to stop that, and that causes a whole bunch of other issues, especially in your health. So don't do that. Allow yourself, but don't stay there. Now, this is where you grow up and be the adult. Well, I don't even want to say it's about adults, because we expect little kids to do this in the classroom. But this is where you say, you know what, why did I make that decision? And you're going to ask yourself empowering questions, right? And you hear this a lot, but not a lot of people do it, right? Because it's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good. But if you know that there are some decisions that you're making and you're finding yourself that you're struggling to do so, it's because you have to critique your own reasoning. So one question is, why did I pursue the certain goal or path that led me to this spot? I had to ask myself that question, and I was like, oh, why did I why did I do that? Right? What led me here? And this is where you are honest with yourself, and you sit there and you take some time and you ask yourself those questions and be honest with yourself. So it's not about being hard on yourself. It is about being honest. Only you can answer those questions. Now, you may go to a coach or a therapist or whomever, but I invite you to start with yourself first. And you're doing this without any judgment. The second thing was, what was the purpose behind my specific action? And so what led me to losing $397,291 in 30 days, I can smile now, but it didn't feel good. But I can smile now because I've gone through these steps. And I was like, I I can I understood why I did it, whether it was right or wrong. That's not the point. It was, I had to get it out, and this was why. It was a fact. So when you look at a fact, you're getting out of your feelings. So now you can start unhooking. Now, a lot of this should be done proactively before we make decisions, but hey, it is what it is. Sometimes you are just in the moment, you don't process, you don't go through this process. So now you're reactive, and that is okay. But if you start working on some of these reactive decisions, hopefully it'll prompt you to slow down and go through this from a more proactive. But again, no judgment, because it is what it is. The outcome is the outcome, right? But now we're building back up our muscles to trust ourselves so we can make better decisions. And then we'll talk about why this is definitely more important. So then when you critique yourself, the third question is, did I have all the information I could have gathered before I made the decision? So sometimes you've made the best decision possible. You researched, you did all of it, you got the advice, and it just still didn't turn out a certain way. So if that was the case, then you stand with that. On the other side of that, if you're honest with yourself, you know that, you know what? I didn't I just made the decision just on my feelings, or I didn't do my due diligence, and that's what I did. I own that personal responsibility, and that's fine too. When you allow yourself to do that, then when you start getting those outside voices that come to you, or people who want to critique your reasoning, or whether it's from family or friends, and sometimes it could be people who are insulting you, you can stand firm on that and you won't get triggered. I know some people don't like that word, but you won't be so responsive and so reactive, and caught off guard. You'll be able to stand from a place of, look, I done went through all this myself, so you're not going to make me feel guilty, shameful, or anything about a decision that was already made, because I've done that work myself. And when you do that, people can't make you wrong. Now, you may be wrong or not right, as I like to say, but you've come to grips with that. And so now you don't waver. You are solid no matter who comes your way. So I've taken responsibility for that. It is what it is, or I did the best that I could, and it is what it is. when you do that for yourself, now you can allow for uh the feedback to come in, because we don't want to stonewall and say, well, I did what I had to do and can't nobody tell me nothing. That's not the point of this. You're doing that so you can detach from what you did. So when other people are coming in, then you can filter, well, I could use that advice, or that feedback was helpful, or that was just some insult or some negative stuff. So I'm going to dismiss that, right? So let me know if you're tracking with what I'm understanding. So some of these, it's a fine line between I do me, you do you kind of thing, versus I'm solid in me and I will hear you if needed. All right. So when I did this, the decision that led me to the point, there were people that were, well, not even a lot of people, because I didn't share too much about it, but in my inner circle, I've shared some things. And at first it was like, well, how could you? And blah, 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 and all of this. And I was like, you know what? I don't like what I'm getting. So let me turn inward. So when I checked myself, then I was and did all this, did the work. I stopped being so emotionally attached or more emotionally charged to what they were saying. When I shifted, they shifted, right? So you control yourself, and then your environment will adapt. So when I did that, I opened it up, and then I was able to see some blind spots that I had, even because I'm like I'm a researcher, like I look at stuff, right? But there were still some blind spots. And once I simmered down on my emotions, then I could see the blind spots. And then I was like, okay, the outcome is still the outcome, but I understand. So I'm good now. Some things I could not have foreseen at all. Some things you just literally have to go through, right, for you to see or learn what you need to learn. So that was all in number one, about self-reflection and critiquing yourself, right? Not being hard, but being honest. Number two, talking about your ecosystem. When I talk about your ecosystem, and I need to share more about this, because there are about 15 areas of your life that creates your own ecosystem. In business, you hear about entrepreneurial type of ecosystem. Um, Sometimes in like life coaching, they talk, the different environments. Maybe that's the industry I got that from. But when I took a deeper dive and really looked at that, a lot of us only look at two categories: either your career, your business, or then you just group life over here. But we don't unpack life. So all those different areas, and I'll start talking more about those. That is your ecosystem, and this is why it is important for you to unhook yourself from not right decisions or outcomes that you did you that weren't favorable. And this is why it is important to be more proactive when you're making your decisions, because you are an entire ecosystem, and your ecosystem impacts other people. So this is why we need you to stand in your personal leadership. So when you're thinking about a collaborative ecosystem, you yourself, but then it's also the people that you're connected with. I've said this, but I'm shifting the way I've said it. It's like, oh, I just want to be around like-minded people. Not always. You need to be around high-minded, higher level of people at times, because when it's time for you to make certain decisions, sometimes you don't want to be around like-minded people because they think like you and they may not see your blind spots. It's not a bad thing, but it may not be the best thing all the time. And so you want to make sure that you're in an environment to where people can help you see your blind spots without you being defensive, or without you taking what they say and taking it personally. And if you want to have opulent thinking for opulent opportunities, there are going to be people who may not, if you take any type of personality test and, whatever, let's say ABCD, you may be an A person, and then a D person comes to you. You're like, well, I don't like the way that person approached me, our personality. You gonna have to get over that, right? You have to work through that, because they could be saying something to help you. So if you sit around a bunch of A's all the time, or A's and B's, however they're grouped together, uh, use whatever analogy that you want to think of, then y'all just going to keep going down the same path or whatever. And you may think that you are being successful, or you're working through things, or you're doing great work, but then you may not be doing phenomenal work because you're not listening to the C, D people, and vice versa. So you want to have a mixture of people. So it's not always about, oh, my like-minded people, where's my tribe? Sometimes you got to step outside the tribe, or you may have to go. It's almost like, and I remember when I was in high school, and I did the same thing in college, and I did the same thing. Like, I'm looking at these patterns. I did the same thing when I was a college professor, and I now in this entrepreneurial space, I'm finding out that I'm doing the same thing. You may have a crew, right? Or a clique, or a group of people. Let's say, like in high school, I was in the magnet program. So it was that was us. But then I was also a cheerleader. So I had those people. And then I was also part of like the Italian club, and the Spanish club. So I was, with those people. So you have these different people that you interact with, so you can start seeing these different perspectives. Same thing when I went to college, and the same thing as a college professor. I was in my department, but then I ventured out, and went to other departments, or I made sure I was involved in, this project or that, it's just not being so with my like-minded crew, like the math people, or the education people. I want to know what the art history people were doing, or the foreign language people were doing, and things like that. And so you want to have this collaborative experience. So when you're in that space, even if you've made the outcome, even though the outcome is what it is, then if you decide to bring it up or hear something similar, you'll get these different perspectives, and it will help you to unhook from, you know what, I did not know that at the time, but now I know, and I got that information, versus somebody said, because it's not always, and I know it may sound like I'm contradicting myself, because sometimes it's like, yes, you did the best you could, right? But what if you, and that's true, but what if you got into another environment, and they said, well, this is how you can approach that. And you're like, oh, well, maybe I didn't have, that's a new way of seeing that. So now I know I can gather that. So maybe this wasn't the best. That's the best I could do, but that wasn't the best approach. So let me know if you're tracking with that. So again, a lot of these are a fine line, but those little small tweaks, well, is the difference between, like I said, good, great, and phenomenal, right? Like good, was it good, better, best? Those little tweaks, again, can help you go to those different levels. And so what I say here? Oh yeah. So in the situation that I was telling you all about, when I got into those different groups, then when I got out of my feelings at first, I had to go back to part one, like I said, then I got a solution to a problem that softened the blow. I was already in the throes of what was going to happen. So the train wreck was coming, right? It was coming, but instead of it being like fatal, and I'm not saying that it was anything that was going to harm me like that, but you know what I mean? Instead of it being catastrophic, being around a collaborative group of people with higher level thinking, the advice that I received, or the solutions that I heard, it kind of like derailed. And now the train got scraped. He jumped the track, but it wasn't as catastrophic, right? So that's why when I talk about having your ecosystem, first you learn how to critique the reasoning of yourself and construct your viable arguments, and then you're in a situation to where you can now receive that critique and hear those arguments. And I'm not talking about fighting arguments, but stating the case. All right. So number three, when we're talking about leadership and effective communication, so when you want to unhook yourself from maybe a not right decision, you want to make sure that you're able to stand on your new decision. So if you're being there, if we're talking more about reactive, this is going back to, this is why I made the decision that I did. And when you do part one, you're able to stand and make a case for yourself for part two. So regardless of what people are saying to you, you've looked at the facts and not your feelings, and you're able to state your case. When you're being proactive and you've done this process, again, you've looked at the facts and you're able to state your case. Now, this is the part where you come from a place of you guiding the conversation, you're being confident and certain into what you're saying, right? And same thing in leadership is not always about, you know, not moving until you can make the right decision. But it's like, look, we're gonna be on board. But if I'm wrong, then I'll own that. But this is where we are going right now. And if you're gonna lead your life, lead your business, lead your career, whatever it is, you have to be in that place to where you can effectively communicate your vision for people and inspire them to take action and move in direction with you, right? We've seen that whether it's in the positive way or the negative way, but you have to make sure that you do that. And it's about strategic influence. So we're not manipulating anybody in a bad way. We're all manipulated, but it's not from that negative side of manipulation, but it's being strategic to the point where you can influence people to allow you the space to move forward, or help you move forward in that direction, or just keep their mouth shut. Just point blank simple, right? Because we can't control what other people do, but we can manipulate situations in our favor based on the way that we are communicating and with our confidence and with our certainty. All right. So it really does depend on how you manage your emotional intelligence. I know that's like a buzzword, but it really is. If you're all frantic and, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, then people around you either gonna be frantic like you or look at you like, I don't want to deal with this person because they can't control themselves. And we get judged like that. And you can say whatever you want to say. Well, it's not right. Get to know me. I'm seeing how you're responding right now. And it may be that one situation, but maybe that's the only time I've come across you. So I don't want to deal with that. Right. So you yourself, collect yourself, gather yourself, and then be able to communicate your direction. And don't be afraid of that. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And I know I've been in situations just like what led me to losing $397,291 in 31 days. It's not funny, but I I got to the point where one, I can share that with you, and uh, and then when the if there are some negative vibes, or when people learn like really what happened, it doesn't matter what they say if they're trying to bring me down, because I can articulate and communicate and tell you why I did it, and I can strategically influence you to not have those negative vibes come my way. All right. So and that's what I wanted to share with you. And we're going to talk about what happens if you don't do that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But if you keep getting defensive about something that about a decision that you made, you're not going to be open to new opportunities coming your way. It's just not going to happen because you're blocking those. And people who want to maybe give you advice, because you do want to hear advice from other people. You're going to be so combative to where they're not going to want to share with you. You're not going to be in a collaborative environment that you want to be in. And you're not going to go to those next level opportunities because you can't handle where you are right now. So let's do this very quickly. You're like, well, I hear you and I've heard all this before. But if you decide not to do anything, if you decide not to do the deep work, and this is where a lot of people, avoid this, and you can look at a lot of, you know, you consider what successful people look like, they're actually doing this work. Now, the best way to do this is to get a mentor and advisor to walk you through a process so you're not processing alone, because again, you can't always see your blind spots. However, don't automatically jump to, oh my gosh, I need a coach, I need a therapist, I need a coach, I need a mentor, I need a strategist. You yourself are your first person. So there are things that you can do yourself so that you can self-regulate, and then you can go and to a mentor or an advisor to check your blind spots. That's the more proactive way. So if you don't do this, there's a study in Psychology Today, I believe, and it said between 25 and 30% of high achievers suffer from imposter syndrome, and about 70% of adults will experience this in their lifetime. Now, I personally don't like to use imposter syndrome anymore because I did a whole video about that somewhere on my YouTube channel. So I use perceived fraudulence. Say what you want, but again, sometimes words matter, right? So perceived fraudulence, go look it up. And that's what I use. But if you know this, when you don't do some kind of self-reflection or critiquing your own reasoning and then being able to construct your own viable arguments for why you made certain decisions, then you're going to continue to be stuck and stagnant, right? And we hear about limiting beliefs or outdating beliefs. That is a thing that always happens, or people always talk about those things. But what it really is those questions that you're either not answering for you're not doing enough self-reflection and thinking about your thinking. That's why you get outdated beliefs or limiting beliefs, things that you've been acting a certain way because you've been programmed to think that way. And you can unhook yourself if you're like, why did I make this? This is how you do it. Why did I make this decision? What led me here? You could just start with that, and then that will start helping you to go and start shattering, those glass ceilings. Sometimes we think that it's other people holding us back. No, it's you, it's me, it's us. And we have these invisible glass ceilings, and well, glass, these personal glass ceilings, because you're like, I can see my potential. I can see the sky is the limit. I can see through the skyline, but why can I get there? It's because there's something so small like that. You're not thinking about your thinking. And it starts with your self-awareness. You'll be surprised like how many people are really clueless about themselves, right? So it's time for you to get a PhD in yourself, right? Before we get all these other fancy degrees, like you are your first case study. All right. So if you're in a business or in a company, and if you don't do this, if you don't start thinking about your thinking or being either work through it based on a reactive situation or be proactive, you are trying to lead other people. There was a study from Harvard Business Review that said between 32 and 67% of companies struggle with some form of collaborative and effective communication. Now, that's just from the leadership perspective. And I know when I did my dissertation, we focused on between 25 and 30% growth or impact from a leader. And you may think, oh, that's not a lot. But when you're looking at big companies, even in education, educations are like schools and universities, those are like many companies, right? Yes, they're institutions of learning, but they're companies. And so when you have something that's impacting 25 to 30%, just impact, whether that's in a positive direction or negative direction, it's pretty significant. So in larger corporations, 32 to 67% based on a leadership person or a leadership team, that is huge. Now, of course, it is more than that, but we're just talking about just the leadership. If you are a leader and you can't effectively communicate your decisions, and if you're so hung up on, well, I'm the boss or I'm the leader, it's my way or the highway type of thing, it's about how you communicate that and are you able to construct a viable argument for that. And whether you're right or wrong, it's your approach to things, right? And then you're wondering why people aren't following you or why you don't have the performance that you want to have from your team, or why your productivity or whatever is dropping. And so if you don't set that example, then your team or the people that's with you, they won't be able to come to you and offer you that feedback on any type of internal process, because it's like, well, you already showed us how you're going to react. So we know that there is a better way because we actually work this system. But hey, do you? We just gonna keep doing what you want to, we're just gonna avoid talking to you, and we're just gonna just remain compliant and keep on moving. So you don't I feel that you don't ever want people to just be compliant. You want that innovation because that's why you hired them. But you have to model how you want them to critique the reasoning and construct viable arguments, because they could be the reason they could want. And I may be putting even my own self out of talking my own self out of like some contracts and things, but sometimes you don't always need an outside consultant or strategist to come in. You can save yourself a lot of money if you start with that with your team. And that way, when it's time for you to hire an outside person, now you're going to another level versus fixing something that could have been resolved on the surface level. That's what I've seen that, and I've learned that from the education side, to where we're fixing we're coming in for these low level problems. And now all of your resources are spent dealing with this low level problem that could have been taken care of in house, because when I looked at what you were dealing with, I saw the potential to be way up here, but you only brought me in for here. But okay, right? All right. But I digress. So you as the leader, do that so that you can go to even higher levels or quantum leap your growth. All right. So as we are wrapping up, I want you to make sure that you understand the importance of self self reflection and self awareness and personal reflection. Then understand the importance of understanding how to unhook yourself from decision making, whether you are the leader of your life, the leader of your career, the leader of multiple areas of your life, and to make sure that you're always aiming for a higher level of understanding. How can this be done better? We can always improve, right? So don't get make sure that you're don't wallow, don't pity party. The outcome is the outcome, right? So go unhook yourself and now go through this process so you can make those better decisions and start trusting yourself so that you can bring in more opportunities that are coming your way. You know, biblically speaking, you know, God only I don't want to say that scripture, but we ask for increase for a lot of different things, but then you're not being responsible for what you have right here in front of you. You're not learning how to lead and manage what's in front of you. So why would I even give you more? The stories of the talents, right? Why would I give you more and you haven't done what you needed to do right here, right now? So make sure that you let me know down below as we are wrapping up. Thank you for listening and learning with me. But as we're wrapping up, again, for real, as we are concluding, let me know your thoughts about constructing viable arguments and critiquing the reason of others. But before you can critique the reason of others, critique your own reasoning, right? It's so easy to say, oh, I see your problem. Well, my title is The Brilliant Solutionist. I see everybody's problems. I see multiple ways how to fix everything. And then I was like, well, why can't I do this for myself? But there, I can do this for myself in a certain area, right? But I even have mentors and advisors that I go to and be like, all right, this is what I'm thinking, right? Because I want to be as proactive as possible. So let me know how first you're critiquing yourself. Let me know if you want to take a deeper dive into what viable arguments really are, and then let me know just overall like your takeaways from our discussion today. All right. So that's wrapping up number 3 of our lesson for S&P 3, but really about what did call this? Really about challenging the status quo of our thinking and how we're making our decisions. So again, you don't want to be. I'm tired of us saying, "Oh, I'm stuck. Uh, I'm stagnant. I don't know what to do." Yes, you do. First, start thinking about your own thinking. And start from there, and then we can move forward later. But start there. That was number 3. If you missed 1 and 2, scroll on the feed or go back to the playlist on my YouTube channel. And if you like this vibe, be sure to share and subscribe. And then if you're like, okay, I really want to talk more about this, check the description box for my Brilliance in Action Power Intensive. And that information will be down below. And there'll be some more information if you want to stay connected with me. So check the resources, LinkedIn, check the features section. And that's all I have for you on this day. So wherever you are, whether you're beginning your day or ending your day, remember to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and to be brilliant. Until next time, bye.